All right. What's up, everybody? Good to see you. Good to see you, Kathy. Good to see you, Michael. As most of you know, is it Bayes? Bayes? How do I pronounce that? Come off mute.
Bayas Customs.
Bayes Customs. Nice to have you here. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Roy, what's up, man? How you doing today? You good? Good. I'm promoting everybody in the attendees to a panelist because I want to see people's faces here. I really do. I really do. I want to see your face. I want to talk to you and I want to hear from you and I want your participation. Because these things are important, right? Hey, Trudy Ann. Leo, what's up, man? Good to have you back. If you are, which all of you should be, if you are a panelist, let me see you guys. Turn your videos on if you can, of course. And let's have a little party going here. So today's going to be a little bit different. I'm going to tell you why it's going to be different. I'm going to be honest with you. We were going to talk about advanced pre-treatment strategy today. What all of you are like, damn it, why can't we talk about that? Well, turns out that Edgel's sick and I can't pull all of our techs off the job because that means the techs can't assist people with tickets. So like an hour and a half ago, we figured this out and I'm like, well, okay. I know a thing or two about marketing, just so happens. And so we're going to talk about marketing today. But I got some really important stuff for you that I think is going to be really impactful to you to take home and apply to your business. If you can, please turn on your video. I definitely want to see you. Hey, Suzanne, I want to see you. And if you guys have questions, I want to engage today. Okay, in my opinion, we don't do enough engaging on these calls, and I want to start having more conversations. So we're going to have a good Q&A session. I want to invite you guys to be a part of this and to stop me and ask questions as you guys have questions about this stuff. All right. I hope everybody's having a good week so far. Is everybody staying busy? Yeah. Yeah, that's great. That's great. I love that. Busy's good. Well, most busy's good anyways. We're busy over here too. We're working on a lot of new stuff coming out here shortly. So without further ado, I am going to share my screen and we're going to get right into it. Okay. So what we are going to talk about here today are three really important things when looking at your guys' marketing strategy. All right. I summarize it as the 3 Ps. There's price, there's positioning, and then there's your promotional strategy. And if you could for a second, envision these as pillars. All right. These are going to be pillars in which your business are built upon. And the specific implementation of these pillars in this context today is going to be for direct-to-consumer apparel brands. So if you own a print shop, you can still make it applicable, but you just need to tweak it a little bit, all right? If you own your own direct-to-consumer apparel brand and your own printing brand, and you're selling tees, you're selling hoodies, you're selling really anything that is not direct to business, but direct to consumer, then this is going to be really, really, really important for you and really impactful. And it'll be a good lens for you to filter your marketing strategies through. So let's take it from the top here. And honestly, if you're on here and you're engaging, please do come off mute if you have questions on a particular slide. Okay, you guys all should be able to unmute yourselves at any moment in time. And let's make this engaging and fun. All right, price. This may seem obvious, but this is an area where, in my experience in the last 13 years, having spent well over $150 million in paid advertising across various different advertising platforms, and I've built and scaled businesses that have equated to nearly $1 billion in exit valuation and several $100 million in revenue. Pricing strategy is an area where the vast majority of brands fail. And that's because most products, whether tees or, other consumable items or other CPG brands, most products have specific retail buckets that they live within that have a particular sweet spot on what the retail value is on it. Now, there's a lot of things that go into pricing strategy, right? You got to look at your cost of goods and you've got to have a good, healthy margin north of 50% in an ideal world. What you got to do is look at the market landscape and develop a pricing strategy that not only serves the economic needs of the business, but that is also going to give you a strong posture that will make your product sell with a little bit of volume, if that makes sense. For example, most of your tees are going to sell most of your good quality tees are going to sell between 22 and $35, right? Or 25 and $35. I would consider that generally a price bucket within our decorator market. And then anything sub 25 or anything sub 20, you're generally going to run into some different types of garments that aren't going to be as maybe premium as a lot of others. But you got to think about the context of your business, like whether you're a value brand and you're just looking to move shirts for volume, such as selling $5, $10, $15 tees with custom prints on it, or if you're a premium brand that's going to have some super high quality garment option, or whatever other metric you would define as premium, you've got to make sure that the price of that product, the pricing strategy of that product, is going to be in line with what somebody's willing to pay for it. And it sounds obvious, but it's really not. If you have a direct-to-consumer brand and you're in the market, you feel like your designs are excellent, you feel like your garments are excellent, I mean, whatever the thing might be, but you're just not moving any units, start with price. Because most of the time, as a founder or an owner, your perception of the value of your product might not be aligned with the market's perception of the value of your product. And a lot of times your products might just be a little bit too expensive. A good example of that is a tee that you might have priced at $24.99. If you're not moving any volume on that, try pricing it at $19.99. You're going to notice that the two different pricing buckets, $19.99 versus $24.99, are going to have two different conversion rates associated with them, not simply because it's $5 in difference, but because there's this long ingrained psychological association with the $19.99 product and the $24.99 product that you're battling against in the marketplace. And when somebody sees those two price points, they're going to associate different types of values with them, whether it's comfort or quality of the print, whatever, right? So if you've got a direct-to-consumer brand in the marketplace and you're just not moving any volume, do some additional, do some deep diving and research into your pricing strategy of that individual product. Don't overthink it, but definitely go down the rabbit hole and look around like, okay, am I pricing people out of the market, or what's the situation? Like, go through a thought exercise there. It is oftentimes an iterative process where you've got to go through and test different things. But always remember this one really important fact. It is much easier to come down than it is to go up. Okay. And a lot of you have probably experienced this at some point. Overprice your products out of the gate in the market. And then if you're not able to move those products, give yourself enough margin leverage in that SKU to come back down, but never underprice your product and try to upscale into the marketplace. You see brands doing it somewhat in 2020 because of demand, but 9 times out of 10, that strategy is not going to work for the business. And it's really just going to piss people off, especially people who are associated with your brand and kind of know what you have to offer. So again, come out of the gates a little bit more liberal. If you find that it's not working, come down and be a little bit more conservative on your pricing strategy, and make sure that you're testing in small increments. $29.99, $24.99, $19.99, and you take that sort of approach and know that there's a psychological association with value between $29.99, $24.99, $19.99, and the consumer subconsciously will be going through that process in their minds as they're evaluating and making a purchasing decision. Okay, this is really important.
Hey Ryan,
one of the three. Yes, please.
Can I jump in and share a quick story about that?
Yeah, please.
I'm a marketing person like you.
Hey.
I picked up a OmniPrint during the pandemic because business was slow. So I originally had started thinking about becoming a brand page, like you're talking about. Mm-hmm. It took me about 2 months to realize I kind of had to do a mixture of both to keep my press running in the regular basis in the beginning.
Yeah.
So I went out and I bought domains called $12 custom tees all the way up to $18 custom tees.
There you go.
So I started at $12.99 thinking I was going to be Walmart of custom t-shirts.
Yep.
And I quickly realized that the game is not to figure out what the price of the shirt is. It's how much you want to make for every hour that press runs.
Yep, it's a good way of looking at it.
For example, my goal rate is $185 an hour. I can do that. Mm-hmm. If I price my shirts out at $21 plus tax.
Yep.
And I don't let any print take longer than 5 minutes.
There you go.
And by doing that, I was able to take my $12.99 shirt. And this is the funniest part of the story. This is why I'm sharing it. You would think starting low, you're going to make lots of money. You're not. People were too afraid to buy from me.
Yep.
I changed my price to be market price, and the cash register started running. So keep that in mind as you guys were thinking about this. And if you want $18 custom tees or lower to $12 custom tees, I'll give it to you. I don't care. But ultimately what I learned was don't sell by price, sell by sort of like a diversified structure, right? So, and then Yelp also helped me out a lot.
Yeah, well, Raj, actually, that just kind of elaborates one of the points I was making there. Like, there is a subconscious association between price and the customer's initial perception of the value of that product, right? You probably weren't moving units at $12, $15, or even really much of 18, because there was a association of maybe a lower value or lower quality garment or silhouette. You know what I mean? But the second you get into that 20 to 24, 1999 to 24.99, there's a different psychological association with the value of that product. Now, again, it doesn't work. It's not one size fits all for every brand. Some people can appeal to more of a value driven consumer depending on the print on the garment, right? Like, let's say you're white labeling a particular brand. I don't know, name any brand that you're going to see in Marshalls or TJ Maxx or something like that. That's going to be a lower cost unit. Like, there's a world where you can survive based off of the total volume of margin dollars versus your total margin percentages. However, the vast majority of people on this call today, anyways, are probably not going to want to live in that world, especially because when you're printing with a digital printer, unless you're working with something like a Cheetah or, really even a GTX Pro or something that can just bang out, 100 prints an hour or two, there's no money to be made in that lower price bucket, right? So what we need to think about here is, what is that pricing tier for your business that is going to hit that sweet spot? And it's really important. So Raj, thanks for jumping in and sharing that. It's a great example, honestly. P number 2 is positioning of the brand, right? This is where I like having a lot of fun. And I think there's a lot of creators in this community here that do a really good job at this. Angel Ramirez is a good one. He's got an excellent direct-to-consumer brand. Neff is another one that we got. He's got an excellent direct-to-consumer brand. There's a lot of people here doing it. The positioning of your business is like the atmosphere in the universe and like the ethos that you're producing as people engage with your brand, right? When you walk into a store, how many people here have ever walked into, like, what's that one store that they have in the malls where you'd walk in and it smells like you just got punched in the face with cologne? Hollister, there it is. How many of you have walked into a Hollister store or something similar and you're like, God, it just has a feeling associated with it. It's like you feel like you're at some Southern California like fashion show, loud music, dim lights. You've got a certain scent associated with it. Like that is a very much so thought out and intentionally created positioning of that business. Like they're creating a lifestyle. Okay. And when you create a lifestyle as a decorator, whether you're talking to maybe like a young urban streetwear consumer who might be in like downtown LA in the arts district, or let's say you're talking to some country boy out there who's super into hunting or whatever, like whatever corner of the market you're in, the positioning of your brand is going to either be a compelling, like attractant for that particular consumer, or is going to be unattractive for that particular consumer. So we've got to be intentional with this, folks. We can't just go throw spaghetti at the wall and see what's gonna stick. Okay. We need to think about, what is our brand narrative? How do we want to be perceived? What is the language that we're using to construct the identity of our business and our brand? And how are we taking that to market? We've got to create products that are positioned to create emotional and compulsive purchasing behaviors, especially for direct-to-consumer. This means that we're engaging folks, right? Like we're understanding what they're passionate about, and we're developing designs, we're providing silhouettes, we're giving them content that is all encompassing on this position, and we're pairing this positioning with a good pricing plan and a good promotional plan that is going to develop an environment that fosters purchasing activities. Okay, does that make sense? Everybody, does that make sense to everybody? Is this an area where somebody feels like they're really strong at, or somebody feels like they're kind of lacking a little bit?
I'll chime in on this one.
Sure.
I know where I want to go in my head.
Yep.
And I can see it in my head, but actually getting to that point is my challenge.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course, it takes some creativity and execution, right?
And listening, when I meet people, and I know that someone is part of my target market, changing from, hey, it's nice to meet you, let's be friends,
Yep.
to listening to them and what you said, learning what their interests are, learning how I could reach them other than by accident.
Yep.
So that's kind of a mind switch for me on this one.
I get it. This is actually difficult for people who might be more analytically minded versus creatively minded. You know what I mean? Like this, it's sometimes it's hard for people to kind of dive down deep into like the imagination to understand, to try to like dream up and build a vision around like what the sensory experience is within the business. You know what I mean? This is especially difficult to do in an online business, which most of us probably are. There's a lot of people here that also have boutiques and little retail shops where they do in-person stuff. I'll be honest, it's significantly easier to create a really good all-encompassing position. And when you've got a retail location, it's very difficult to do through e-commerce, but it is definitely possible. So again, your positioning is like how you're being perceived in the marketplace. What's my brand story? What's my product narrative? What's my brand's promise to the consumer? What do I want to be known for? Like who is what the person, the persona that is the business. If you don't have one, you're going to notice that there's nothing for people to connect to or associate with. When you're looking at printable businesses or direct consumer or really any sort of e-commerce business, if there's no identity for somebody to develop a relationship within the brand, you'll notice that you may get a first purchase, but it's going to be really hard to retain customers as well. So think about it. Let's be intentional about it. Let's create personas of who we want our brand to be and what the DNA and ethos is of that person or persona. And let's write it out. Let's be intentional. Build yourself a board almost on a wall. Give that persona a name. Is it a he? Is it a she? Where are they at in the world? Where do they live? What are their interests? What do they like? What do they not like? What are their problems? And when you do that, you're going to notice that there's going to be somebody that comes to mind. And that's the person that we want to speak to with the positioning of our brand. But also every design that we produce and every silhouette that we transfer to or print on, those designs need to also speak to that person as well, and their interests and their passions. So identify your target customer, truly understand what they're passionate about, and develop products that tap into those passions. You do that and you're going to win. Okay. You're going to win every single time. I promise you that, because people will pay for the things that they love. Where the heart goes, so goes money. Honestly, you could be $1 or $2 high on your retail bucket, but with good positioning, sometimes you could push through that. Bad positioning, it doesn't matter how much your shirt is or your product is. You're not going to convert that customer, let alone retain them. So it's important to consider here as we're looking at it. And I want to fuse all of these things together, because our pricing strategy and our promotional strategy are two peas from the same pod. Okay, looking at our promotional strategy. So I think I was talking about how pricing and promotion are related. They're very much so related. Two peas from the same pod. And by promotion, it's not just discounting. Okay, there's a lot of different promotional strategies that we can implement into a business. But in a COVID-infected economy, last year, 30 plus million people lost their jobs. 30 million plus people lost their jobs. And that makes promotional strategy even more important. Now we're starting to rebound, right? I mean, the markets are starting to come back. People are starting to get jobs again, but they're still very much so price sensitive. So 2020 sent us into this weird boomerang effect. But as we're looking, every business on the planet, COVID infected or not, needs to have a promotional strategy, because in a world, everybody's racing to the bottom in a lot of ways. And so depending on the business, who the business is, depending on who the customer is, depending on how we're positioned in the marketplace, the tier of that promotional strategy may be deep, or we might not need to give any sort of discounts on our product and we can give away gifts with purchases. But it is more important than ever. People always are going to want quality when it comes to products. But in our experience, especially in the decorator industry, quality alone isn't going to move products with significant volume. Because in a world where you're selling direct to consumer online, nobody knows the quality of your garment. Yeah, sure, you got reviews, right? Reviews help. You can have influencers wearing your products, talk about how much they love them. You see those videos everywhere. That helps. But quality alone is not going to be the only thing that influences the customer's purchasing decision. There needs to be reinforcing triggers that reinforce those initial purchasing decisions. And so one popular promotional strategy that I've seen work 100 times over is if it's a new customer, give them something to get them over the hump on that first order. So that could be 10% off your first order. That could be free shipping on your first order if you charge shipping on your products. That could be a gift with purchase. Like if somebody spends $50 or more, give them $10 in store credit to come back and buy from your shop. If somebody spends $100 or more, give them, $10, $15 in store credit to come back and buy from your shop. On the store credit thing, you're not giving away $10. You're giving away whatever the COG is associated that they use that $10 on. And data tells us that when people come back and redeem gift cards or store credits, things of that nature, they spend above and beyond what the actual threshold is of the credit that they're using. And that's a fact. So it is a good business plan and a good business strategy to give people fun promotions to engage with. Gift with purchase is definitely one. Percentage off, dollar off, giving store credit, et cetera, right? Does anybody here have a really good promotional strategy that they've found works really well for their business?
I'm inside. I got the shop set up inside my wife's boutique.
Nice.
And the thing that she does is has a punch card. For every $25 you spend, you get a punch. I think there's like 10 circles on it. And when you fill it up, you bring it back and you get 20% off your next purchase. And it works good.
Yeah, that's a great example.
I've done two. I've done one in the month of November. I did name your own price. And I just did an ad on Yelp, which is displayed when somebody's searching custom t-shirts.
Yeah.
That was a horrible, horrible mistake.
That's funny.
And then the one that worked for me pretty well, actually, the first week of this month, is bundling like a 10 shirts for $150. I haven't gotten around to seeing how Groupon and all these guys do it.
Mm-hmm.
But putting up promotions like that on like social media sites like Yelp, Instagram promotions, some sort of marketing promotion on Etsy. I always thought Etsy was for custom goods. The deeper I jumped in, or I see people putting up ads for custom t-shirts that just literally say your artwork here. So
yeah,
you can actually buy into that too. But those two promotions, like those two have stood out. Like free shipping at this point, unfortunately, everybody does it. So it wasn't that sexy when I did it in December. But I try a different promotion every month. And the two that have always jumped out, one for the bad idea and two for the 10 for 150, because it brought in a lot. And the weird thing was it didn't bring in any 10 for 150 orders. It brought a bunch of 5 through 9 orders where they were trying to go to the $15 rate, and I got them to settle at 18. So it was a weird dichotomy, but it worked.
But like that I mean, that's part of the dual purpose of some of these promotions, right? And that actually brings me to a really good point. You'll notice that sometimes you'll have an ad deployed into the marketplace, and the ad will say free shipping on all orders $50 or above. Well, the vast majority of people who take action on that aren't going to spend $51. They may spend 100 or 150, right? So your promo has a dual impact on the process here. It is designed to be an attractant, of course, a magnet, if you will, for your target consumer. But just know that it's not binary. Like, by the way, Raj, I love that you tested the name your price. I've actually seen that work really, really, really well in the software industry, out of all places. And another potential way of doing this is asking the customer, like, what are you willing to pay for this? Name your price, but position is like, what is this worth to you?
So here, I'll tell you what I learned from that.
Yeah.
When you do that, they always lowball you. And then after that, regardless of what you say back to them, you can't win them back. Because they're like, well, why'd you let me name my price if you weren't going to take it? Because they'll come back with like, I want $11 a shirt, which, yeah, doable, but do I really want to fire up the press for, $6 profit? Like,
yeah.
So that's what I ultimately learned was, and maybe I had priced it, worded it wrong, which, as a marketer, too, right? Wording is super important.
Oh yeah.
So I may have worded that promotion wrong. I don't think I'm done with it. I'll probably try it one more time, but just change up the wording a little bit, because that was the one promotion that got me more attention than anything else.
Oh yeah. Where attention goes, so goes revenue. That's for damn sure. So I would, if I were you, I would play with that a little bit more, because if you're like, wow, this sparked a lot of conversation, and you were able to attract a lot of people into the top of the funnel there, and you were able to capture, there's a price, there's a value associated with email capture with that. So another thing too is, like, if you're going to do something like that, look at your funnel. Are you sending them to a landing page? On that landing page, do you have an email pop on there to capture contact information from not just from a lead point of view, but sort of from a lead point of view? Are you capturing contact information? And you can equate a value of these promotions, not just to the top line revenue being generated from it, but also look at too is, and again, this is really easy for me to go down a rabbit hole here. You could also follow run a cohort analysis on the people who converted from that offer, and look at the lifetime value of those people and compare that to people that you acquired through different promotions. Because promotional strategy also impacts the lifetime value of customers that you guys are acquiring. And this is important. How many people here know the lifetime value of your customer? Very few people do. So I wouldn't be like, don't be ashamed if you really don't know. That's okay. But that is super freaking important for you to understand, because if you know the lifetime value of your customer, you can build a really smart customer acquisition model off of that, because you could be like, okay, I can afford to pay $42 for this customer because I know that they're going to spend 120 with me over the next 12 months. And that's going to generate roughly X amount of dollars of gross profit over their lifespan here. Where that's also really important is if you ever need to get financing for your company. If you want to start a direct consumer brand, you want to raise capital on that brand. Every single investor or smart investor is going to be asking, well, what's the lifetime value of your consumer? And if you don't know, well, you're pretty much dead in the water. Even if you're not raising capital for your brand, you're bootstrapping that thing or running it off of the cash flow that you're generating. Still really important for you to know so that you can develop a scalable model. And when you look at promotional strategy, particularly, promotional strategy can have not only impact initial purchase behavior, you might get another 20, 30, 40% out of your conversion rates if you've got a good, well-functioning promotional strategy. But you might also find out that the people that you acquire through a promo like what you said there, name your price, those people may or may not have a better or a stronger lifetime value because of the premise that you acquired them on. Let me unpack that a little bit. When you're looking at a promotional strategy, similar, I'm just going to, Raj, keep using your example. I think it's a good one. And let's say you're positioning like, hey, what is this t-shirt package worth to you? Name your price. But drop the premise. Like, if you're going too low, dude, like, we're just not going to do business because it doesn't make sense, right? And every business owner most business people are reasonable. Most, not all. Most people are reasonable. You'll notice that having that sort of authentic conversation with somebody may have a much more positive impact on the lifetime value, because not only have you given them a really good reason to buy in that moment in time, but you've established a bit of a relational connection there. Promotional strategies can do that. So what I would actually, a really good takeaway here, if you guys are running a direct-to-consumer brand right now, and you guys have a promotional strategy spread out, you've got 15% off your first purchase through your Facebook ads, or you've got a name your price on a specific collection or a specific product line. If you're good with analysis, if you're decent with data analysis, go into Shopify or whatever platform you're using for your consumer brand, export people who have purchased with that particular promo code, and look at what their total revenue contribution is to your company so far, and compare it, and then do that same exercise with people that you acquired on a different promotional code, and see what the revenue value is of those between those two segments, and get yourself an average per customer. All right. I think you may be surprised that one promotion A versus promotion B. Promotion A might be a little bit deeper of a discount up front, but might have a much more positive impact on the total lifetime value of that customer for your company. Or promotion B might be, you might learn like, hey, if we acquire somebody on a 20% off or discount, they've got pretty stable lifetime values. But if we give somebody a 40% off discount, we might be converting at a little bit higher value up front or a little bit higher volume up front. but their lifetime value could be atrocious because they're just value customers looking for the best buck. You know what I mean? That works for some companies, doesn't work for most. So go through the exercise to try to understand, to develop smart promotions. Good promotions do a really good job at balancing the tension between a really attractive purchasing environment in the here and now, but also make sure to protect the business. The right way to put it might do a really good job at developing a good environment here and now, but protects the business from bad lifetime value erosion over time. Okay. Again, people are going to want quality. Quality alone is not going to sell it. You need to have a really good perceived value, a really good reason for people to pull out their wallets right now, and then just give them a good reason to buy here and now. You know, everybody wants to feel like they're getting a deal. I want to feel like I'm getting a deal on something, right? Doesn't mean that I'm going to go lowball people just because I'm in business. I understand the other side of the table, but I still want to feel like I got a good deal. Like I bought a truck in December, and you know how car companies do. There's the lowest price of the year 5 times a year. You know what I mean? So I think everybody just wants to feel like they're getting a good deal. And so as I just come in summary of these 3 individual points here, I've been ranting for about 30 minutes. The pillars of this business, the pillars of any of these businesses here, let me go back to the top: price, position, promotion. The success of your company in the marketplace is holistically dependent, or let me take that back. We're missing experience here. But these 3 pillars are the pillars of any successful marketing strategy. Your ability to attract and convert customers. If you don't have the right pricing strategy down, you're gonna notice that you're not moving any volume. If you don't have the right positioning down, you're going to notice that your ability to attract and develop the top of the funnel for your business, traffic, lead generation, whatever, you're going to notice that's just kind of fluttering. You're not really getting smooth flow. And then last but not least here, if you realize that if you've got a good price down, you're in the right price buckets. If you've got a good, attractive brand persona, brand experience, brand ethos, if you've got good pricing, you've got a good brand experience, and you still feel like you're not moving any units or you're not at the volume you should be, consider implementing a promotional strategy. See what that does for your business. Test different types of promos. You got to know your customer too, right? These are not mutually exclusive from each other. All 3 of these things play in unison with each other. One customer may not need a promotion such as 20% off. They may want a gift with purchase, or they might want some store credit with their order or whatever. But you got to test it, know your consumer, test these strategies out against them, or if you're pre-revenue, you got to go through this entire exercise and hypothesize it all. But nobody here is pre-revenue, I don't think. And really be intentional about these 3 Ps and how they relate to your brand that you're developing, and go through a process of iteration. Okay. What are some questions we have, guys? I want to hear from you.
My only advice for everybody doing direct to garment, whether you're looking for brands, whether you're looking for direct to consumer, spend $500 a month on Yelp, put together a BS website, even if it's 1 page, no one ever goes to it. I spent a little bit of coin on my website. You can actually design your own shirt and hoodie online. No one uses it. So get on Yelp, customize for screen printing. The keywords you're looking for is screen printing and t-shirt printing. And just put in your ad, my ad says I charge $12.99 plus the cost of material. And then from there, the cost of material is whatever you feel like that day. And that honestly, that has made a difference. It keeps my press running. This was useful, Ryan, because it is always good to kind of rehear everything from someone else. So you're sitting on an island and you're like, am I doing this right or not? Right.
Yep.
But I'll tell you, Yelp has been a winner for me. Like I pulled in different types of brands, and the good thing is it'll limit you to only 15 miles around your location. So it's not like you're going to cast a massive net.
That's a great point, and very applicable for shops who are developing local business. So thanks for sharing that. Victor had a question in the chat. I don't know if you guys saw it. How many people here are direct to consumer versus direct to business and drop shipping? Does anybody here own direct to consumer brands aside from Raj?
Yeah, I unmuted myself. Is that okay?
Yep, everybody. Yeah, please do. This is definitely an engaging session.
So
yeah.
I run a bunch of different brands, and we do screen printing, and we have a warehouse, and we do all sorts of different things. If you go with the 80-20 rule, where 20% of your SKUs generate 80% of the revenue, the strategy for direct to garment was that we were going to use that to print out 80% of those other SKUs and maybe pull in the other 20% of the revenue through direct to garment. COVID hit. So all of that business, which a lot of it was event based, just kind of went down the drain. So I put phase 2 first, which was our own brand. So we have our own brand of t-shirts that we sell, and then we just kind of have a fun time developing, but it's nowhere near what we do for all the other brands. So we do it more on a wholesale basis. So we're direct to business. And so the brands do all of their marketing and we get the sales through them. So I guess my question was more along pricing because, I love doing my own brand t-shirts because I'll sell them for $25 and it's all profit.
Yep.
But if I'm going to sell one customer 100 of this or 200 of that or 500 of this or whatever, granted 500 we're going to go screen print, but the market that we're going for is customized 500, like where they put their name in it, or like we do the San Francisco Marathon, so we do t-shirts with their finishing time on it. So that's one shirt at a time.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So but obviously I'm not going to charge $25 because I got to pay the marathon, I got to pay the other business, stuff like that. So I guess I was looking for a smaller group to talk, for the direct to business stuff and see how they handle that. We've also expanded. So now we do sublimation too. So we do all the sublimation, we do mugs and totes. So we're beyond direct to garment now, but it's all customized. It's one-ups, right?
Yeah. So what are you charging for, like in that marathon example, right? What are you charging for that shirt?
So I do it by, in order so that we don't have to like haggle all the time. I have a formula based on square inches of the design. So as long as the design doesn't cover more than 75% of the print area. So like my price sheet is, for instance, if I do a 144 square inch design, so a 12 by 12 design, I'm charging to my customer. I have 4 tiers of pricing. So the ones, my regular pricing, I give them tier 3 pricing, which I charge them $8.16 just for the print. But I'm doing a lot, right? It's volume. And like I said, it's not a screen print solution because it's customized.
Yep. So you're using DTG for that. Is that right?
Yeah. Cause I mean, there's no way I'm going to pay for setups on screens on a customized.
Yeah. There's no way.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
yeah. I mean,
that does not include the blank. That's just the print.
Yep. I was about to ask that. You're probably doing, what kind of blanks are you using for that?
Well, whatever. I mean, if it's a marathon, we'll do A4 polys and we'll do, Toltecs, or we'll do district threads or whatever's necessary.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've kind of gone away from doing sweatshirts because it's just too inconsistent with the printer, the leveling and the pockets.
Yeah. Yeah.
So sweatshirts is pure DTF.
Yeah. I mean, man, so you're probably, here's the thing with that particular market, right? When you consider a marathon shirt, those people are used to paying $35-$40 for those shirts.
Easy.
Right? Yeah. Easy. So let's say you've got a, $8.50, $8.50 print cost, which are probably, between $1 to $2 into that on actual print cost. Yeah. And then you're looking at another at least, especially if it's a poly garment. I mean, I would imagine you're probably $8 to $10 for that poly garment.
So customized, it depends on the market, because a small race in Philadelphia is going to be a different price point than the San Francisco.
Yeah,
but let's just say all things even. A regular poly shirt where I need to do 3 or 4 or 5 of them, I use this price model. If I have to go in and customize the name on each one, I'm adding about $4 to each shirt. So I'm charging now $12 just for the production of that shirt. But the customer is paying $45, $50 for a short sleeve tee with their name on it. So granted, why am I charging all 45? Well, because that contract with the San Francisco Marathon is with another group and they got to make their money, and then the marathon wants their X%. And so, it works like that.
Yeah.
But you're still making money.
Oh yeah, you're still making money. Yeah. I mean, Victor, that strategy sounds right to me.
Yeah.
In that context. Because you could still move volume now. It'd be great if you didn't have to go through a third-party vendor that's going to take their share off the top. What are they taking, 15, 20%?
they give me like 20 different races across the country. So how do I say no?
Well, yeah, 100%. Yeah, right. So, that's like Amazon, right? Amazon takes their 15% off the top of top revenue. But those guys, I mean, I know people who are doing millions of dollars on Amazon annually. So it's like, how do you say no?
Yeah.
So I don't know. That feels right to me. I don't see anything wrong with that.
Mhm.
I don't see anything wrong with that, especially for moving volume.
Yeah.
What I would consider doing is looking at the strategic part of that consumer, though. Like, you probably have a booth set up at these marathons, right?
So yeah, the people that I work with are the official merchandisers. So when they go pick up their bibs, when you walk out of the bib spot, it's like walking out of Small World in Disneyland. You're right into our merch booth. So we'll set up like a 20,000 square foot booth with just merch and racks.
That's awesome. I would consider. Are you allowed to do any email capture there for those customers?
We could do email capture with the customers who buy, but a lot of this DTG stuff, we sell it at the registration level. So when they go in and register, there's a page for product.
Yeah.
And they can select whether they want the custom product or regular product. And this regular product, we screen printed and we already have that in stock. But then customized, we print it from scratch.
Yeah. I mean, another way to maximize the value of that consumer over time, if you want to extend the lifetime value of that, would be to capture an email, have some tablets set up around there where you've got just like a really quick and dirty type form to where you capture somebody's first name, last name, and email, and then drop them into some sort of email flow that introduces them to the brand, some of your other different product experiences, et cetera.
So part of the marathon's percentage on this is they collect their part, but they are responsible for all the marketing. I mean, it's the San Francisco Marathon's responsibility to promote the San Francisco Marathon.
Yeah. What I'm meaning is capturing that customers who's purchasing data from that transaction and using it for your other direct-to-consumer brands on the back.
Yeah, that's not part of the contract, but I hear what you're saying. Yeah, it's all owned by San Francisco Marathon. So
the moral of the story is like think through the different ways to maximize the value of the transaction, right? But I mean, in regards to your original question, I think the pricing strategy feels right to me.
Okay.
I don't see anything wrong with that in my experience, and I've done a lot of engagements like that. So,
one thing I would just add to that, Victor, is just have your rate. It comes down to the hourly rate. When you think about how much you pay someone to run that press, how many prints you do in an hour, the question always comes back to me: do I even want to turn the lights on or pay the insurance if I'm only making $5 an hour profit?
Yeah,
that's the way I always look at it. Because, I mean, I have no problem paying. Like, I want to make $200 an hour. More than happy to pay someone $40 an hour to run my press, right? Because by the time I pay for rent, electricity, consumables, insurance, I'll probably walk away with maybe $30 an hour.
I hear you on that. And we're actually, one person can run 2 presses, so I can double that right off the bat. So we're already thinking about a second printer.
Awesome.
Ryan, I just want to throw something in there real quick. We're in this position. We do a lot of that kind of stuff for companies that are larger. We have the screen printing that we do, but every once in a while, like I had a lady approach me the other day that wants to do 100 shirts that are a guy that passed away here in our area. He owned a mechanic shop, so he wants us to do the shirts for that. So I told her $15 a shirt. We're using just a Gildan 2000 shirt, right? So for us, we can't screen print it. We'd obviously make a hell of a lot more if we were screen printing it.
Yeah.
But for us, we're able to do that for them. It'll take us a whole day to get through the 100 shirts, but the money's there still, right? So I think it's kind of like what he was saying. As long as you're making it on your bottom line, that's what I think people get caught up on. They don't get caught up on, it's $6 a shirt or $12 a shirt. It's how much at the end of the day did I put back into the company or into my pocket? Because if you can promote and do all these things and you can sell the shit out of stuff, but at the end of the day, if you turn around and I'm breaking even, all you're doing is spinning your wheels.
Yep, agreed. And that's a perfect illustration of the tension management that we have to engage in, right? So what we want to do, what we know, cash is king. Cash is always king when it comes to the operation, and cash flow. So what we've got to do is make sure that we're pulling the levers that manage the tension between cash flow and what the cash expenditures are, and then managing to profitability throughout that process. So if I just relate it back to the original topic, it's like, what sort of promotional strategy is going to get me an increase in conversion volume flow? But what sort of promotional strategy is also going to protect me against eroding too much margin to where this just isn't worth it for me at the end of the day? Same exact concept and exercise from a pricing strategy. What pricing tiers do my products need to be at, whether you're wholesaling or going direct to consumer, that is going to be good enough, the sweet spot that is enticing, and to where it's not going to become a point of friction on the purchase conversion behavior, but it is good enough to where it provides and sustains good cash flow for the company. It's like there's that thin red line that's the needle that we have to thread between all of this on our positioning, our pricing, our promotional strategy, whether you're wholesaling or going direct to consumer. And most people don't take the time to intentionally think through it. And that's my point here, right, guys? Is like, how many of you really thought about it in this context, or like made it like simplified it and distilled it down into these individual pillars? Like, this is where we need to go. And look, guys, we're coming up on time here, and so I want to be respectful of everybody's time. If this was valuable for you, we are going to be doing a deal here on Friday, and I think Asphalt is going to be there, and a couple of other people are going to be there. I'm going to be spending like 3 or 4 hours with a handful of people doing a marketing mastermind. If you guys are at this point where you're just like, man, I don't really know, I'm not being intentional, I'm kind of just going through the motions, and you guys want to be challenged a little bit, if you guys are even available on Friday from 8 a.m. Pacific to 12 p.m. Pacific, I'm going to be doing a marketing mastermind with folks. It's $297, $300, call it. I'm not making much of anything on this. It's really not a whole lot of time, but I want to spend time with customers to help people unpack these 3 things for their I want to focus specifically, if we can, on developing some direct to consumer brands, because there's a lot of cash there for everybody. And so I had Mauricio post a link to it. You can learn more about what we're going to be doing for this marketing mastermind, talk about the topics. If you want to join, click that link and sign up for it. You've got like a day and a half, and it's really kind of last minute. But again, if you want some help, if you want to spend time with me and unpack not just the 3 Ps, we're going to be talking about a bunch of different stuff here. We're going to be talking about top of funnel traffic. I'm going to skim through the 6 must-haves for Facebook ads and then search ads and YouTube. We're going to talk about influencer marketing. We're going to talk about email marketing and what the strategy is for email marketing. We're going to go through workshops. We're going to do multiple 15-minute workshops where we're going to talk about the application of all of this stuff. And I'm going to break it up by top of funnel, middle of funnel, and then bottom of funnel. And so again, if you're interested, check out that link, sign up if you want to. Yeah, Trudy, and we will be doing this more over time. I'm just not exactly sure when, but again, I want to partner with folks who are ready to kind of unpack this stuff and get intentional about what the strategy is, from opening up the top of the funnel of the business, getting that traffic flow, that lead flow, and then what we're doing in the middle and the bottom parts of the funnel to actually convert those folks. And the goal is that you guys walk away with a specific action plan that day that you can implement and go make some money on. That's it for me. Hope you guys had value out of this time. Next week, we are going to be talking about workflow management and order flow management in shops. So if you guys have a big operation, whether you're big or small, we're going to be talking about work and order flow management. And we're going to get back down into the nitty gritty of that stuff. And the week after that, we're going to be talking about some advanced pre-treatment strategy. So that's all I got. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day. Vince, I'm glad you got some value out of this. I see you in the comments. Michael, thanks for being here. We'll go ahead and talk to y'all later. See you guys.
Thanks, bud.
Thank you.